So our philosophy with Bali Forages is to take the nose to tail approach and use as much of the animal as possible.
Yep.
So with the beef jerky, for example, we only use a certain cut of meat. We use the bones for our collagen, the beef organs obviously for the beef organ capsules, and then we'll be introducing other beef snacks as well.
Oh, that's cool.
This is not a potato chip.
These are so cool.
This is beef, so it's kind of like your keto-friendly snack. We're so like in our own thoughts and constantly on our phones these days, and out in nature when you're freediving in particular, like you're just so unplugged. There's no like all that white noise just gets shut off, and you're just all your senses just get heightened too. It's crazy. I think people are just so disconnected from nature. That's why I love hunting and being out in nature. It's just a way for me to relax. Anything like I don't even have to be catching something per se. Like just being out in the elements is the reward. Everything dies in farming. Like people are spraying pesticides, herbicides. You may not be directly killing an animal, but birds, squirrels, mice, there's rodents that are being, killed by the millions.
Welcome back to another episode of the Aaron Darko Show. My name is Aaron Darko, and today's guest is Mr. Michael Cantwell, Co-Founder of Bali Forages. Michael, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about your brand, Bali Forages, which sells whole food nutrition in supplement form and in the form of beef jerky and beef chips, and anything else that I missed?
Yeah, whole food supplements,
Yep.
and specialty food snacks.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about regenerative farming, where you're sourcing your meat. Is it grass-fed? Everyone's question.
Okay.
And talking about spearfishing and where you're taking the brand and your plans for the brand and your story, the backstory about how this came to be.
Right.
So it's going to be a nice little chat we got here. So first of all, why Bali Forages? What inspired you to start this brand?
Yeah, I think Bali Forages was kind of a COVID business. Started very small out of our villa, more as just a personal project and out of a necessity, because during COVID we were in lockdown, not much travel. I was going around the island, still doing my little adventures, spearfishing, hiking, etc. And I've always just wanted healthy snacks. And you go to local supermarkets here, Pepito, for example, and all the ingredients, you look down, you can't even recognize most of the stuff that's on the package. So we just started making our own beef jerky in our oven, of all things, just at low heat. And I just started kind of posting some stories on my Instagram, and all my friends started hitting me up and like, hey, can I get some? Can I get some? And after they tried it for the first time, they were reordering, and like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, man, maybe this can be like a little side business, like during COVID, while I'm just like twiddling my thumbs, figuring out what the next move is. And it's just kind of started going down the rabbit hole of sourcing food and ingredients. We were at the time we were using New Zealand grass-fed beef, and really, it was getting expensive, especially with during COVID. Transportation and everything was pretty limited, so prices were going up. So if we were going to turn this into an actual business, we were trying to think of scaling it. So we returned to local beef sourcing and started speaking to local farmers, seeing how they raise their cattle, and that kind of just brought us down the path even further of regenerative agriculture. Myself and my business partners, we stumbled across this book called Sacred Cow, by Diana Rogers and Rob Wolf. So that was kind of like our holy grail, our Bible, our kind of guidance on like how we could push this message and kind of grow our business around this philosophy of regenerative agriculture and sourcing better beef, better meat. From there, we just were experimenting with different flavors with the beef jerky, and then I've been super into eating nose to tail, eating organ meats, bone marrow, etc. And we had the sourcing for the cows because we were using the meat, and then we also had access to some freeze dryers. And I had been trying to order some supplements from the U.S. And ancestral supplements and Heart and Soil. but the cost to ship them into Indonesia was just so high. I was like, I could probably just do this myself. So we did a few test runs, and it was more just for personal use at that stage. And same thing, I posted some stories on Instagram, and everybody was like hitting me up, like, oh yeah, I want some of that. And we just kind of had this little cult following at the time, and it spread word of mouth. We hadn't really done any marketing. And so we introduced the beef organ supplement, which is a blend of grass-fed liver, heart, kidney, and spleen. And that's all freeze-dried, desiccated beef organs, and then it's powdered, and then we capsule it just so it's easy to consume throughout your day. I also eat raw liver as well, but if you can't, get a good source of raw liver, and it's travel friendly if you're on the go, so it's just easy to pop a few capsules and be done with it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of spread organically like that, and I think our messaging of getting closer to knowing where our food's coming from and getting away from industrially raised beef has been a big concern for a lot of people, and just wanting to get away from that food system and getting back to a regenerative food system that's actually putting back into the soil what modern industrial agriculture has been taking out. And it's a great way to support the local economy. Most of the farmers that we work with are smallholder farmers, meaning that they raise 5 to 20 cattle. So it's not these huge cattle operations. About 90% of the beef in Indonesia is from smallholder farmers. So you don't get these big industrially raised cattle operations like you see in the US, for example. So it's a much more sustainable model.
Wow. So you started this only 2 years ago?
Yeah.
At the time recording this, right? 2 years?
Yeah, June, July of 2020. Yeah.
That's a cool story. Like, that's like some of the best businesses in the world start like that, right? Like, you started like just making stuff by yourself, and then everyone's like, "Hey, I want some."
Right. It's you kind of get like that positive reinforcement and feedback in real time. So you're like, okay. And I've always been kind of an entrepreneurial mindset. So when I see something, when people kind of gravitate toward a product, I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this and work it out. And luckily, I have great business partners as well that are great operators and help counter my skill sets.
So we'll go deeper into the details. I'm just curious, as you just said that about business partners, like, how did you get your business partners? Because you just started by yourself, right? And all of a sudden people were like hitting you up. So how? Yeah,
so it was me and my housemates at the time, and we were just making it for ourselves, for our own personal snacks. And then we brought on another business partner, Aurelia, who my business partner Tim was working on another project. They were actually working on creating a health and wellness resort, like a farm resort actually. So it was going to had its own regenerative farm on site. It was going to supply all the food. They were going to have the health and wellness activities, kind of like resort style amenities. So they had already kind of done the groundwork on sourcing food and working with some of the local farmers here. So we already had that kind of network established with their background. So that really helped us kind of navigate the agricultural side of the business.
So you already had someone who already knew all that, had the contacts and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So it was easier for you to go and source to continue the production.
Exactly.
Right. So what is it? What is for me personally, like the beef jerky? Just for anyone watching, like, this is the best beef jerky I've ever had in my life. Because I was mentioning this to you before we started filming. Like, I was always struggling to find good beef jerky without all the additives and sugar. Like in America, like they have lots of beef jerky. Obviously, you're American, right? So, but it was just all full of sugar, and I was just like, I can't eat this stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I have the same problem, and most of the snacks in Indonesia too are just full of sugar, full of preservatives, food colorings, stuff that you just can't even recognize on the label. So when you see if the ingredients list is more than the 5 things, you're typically like, okay, like what is this?
Yeah,
this like Frankenfood.
Yeah. So what are the ingredients here for people watching and listening? Yeah.
So this one's actually our recent. Our new flavor here, beef rendang, which is a local Indonesian dish. So here we have, what do we got? The grass-fed beef, the coconut cream, lime, shallots. We do add palm sugar in this one just as the traditional dish.
Yeah.
It's the only added sugar, but
Yeah.
it's, all the other products don't have any sugar.
Yeah.
And then we have garlic, ginger, chili, nutmeg, white pepper, coriander, cumin, cloves, and some cinnamon. So yeah, pretty much all natural. The chili and the pepper are, I think, 5 ingredients, no added sugar. But yeah, and then the beef chips were kind of the other next evolution of the product.
Yeah, this one is cool.
This is not a potato chip.
These are so cool.
This is beef, so it's kind of like your keto-friendly snack. So we're limited on. So our philosophy with Bali Forages is to take the nose to tail approach and use as much of the animal as possible.
Yep.
So with the beef jerky, for example, we only use a certain cut of meat. So we have a lot of other meat that we're not able to use for the jerky. So we're kind of R&Ding other products that we could use. So we came up with the beef chip idea, so we can use other cuts of meat from the cow.
Yeah, because at first glance, people be like, "Oh, so are you wasting like all of the meat because you're only using a certain cut of the cow?" You know?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's why we've been R&Ding other products. We use the bones for our collagen, the beef organs obviously for the beef organ capsules, and then we'll be introducing other beef snacks as well. The chip is cool. It's because it's a different consistency than the jerky. Your typical jerky is a little bit chewier. This is like very crispy. It's very thinly sliced. It's like a potato.
You can
chip.
show them if you want.
Yeah.
Because I had this when I first met you, and I was like, "Damn!"
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's great for dipping as well.
Yeah. It's crazy because it tastes just like a snack, like Lay's chips, but it's like
There you go.
this is like. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And how much protein? There's a lot of protein in this as well.
Yeah, the beef chips has, 25 grams?
25 grams of protein in that little bag.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's basically a serving. Because when the meat's dehydrated, it shrinks down quite a bit, so it's very condensed. Yeah. You get some ASMR going in.
So it's like a high protein, delicious snack full of whole foods. So no sugar. And it's so tasty. This is like...
I live off that stuff.
Huh?
I live off of it.
You hiked the Mount... What's it called? Mount Kabujaru?
Mount Batukaru.
Batukaru.
Yeah. It's a tongue twister.
And it took like 5 hours, and I saw you hiked with beef jerky.
I had like 4 or 5 packs on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was exhausted by the time I got to the top. Let me wash out my mouth.
Because I don't really snack much. Actually, I actually don't snack. Like I can't remember the last. If I was snacking, it would be like on some fruit or something.
Yeah.
Outside of beef jerky, and but before I went nose to tail, this is another thing we'll talk about. Is before I started eating more animal protein, I was snacking a lot. So what was your story like before you found, like, even before this company, like you started eating nose to tail animal nutrition, like when did that start for you?
I think health and wellness has always been kind of a part of my life. I grew up an athlete. I come from a family of athletes. My parents actually, they started a health club back in the 80s. So they're a little bit ahead of their time. They had like physios and dietitians and personal trainers in this sports complex. My dad played football, and so that, like, my diet and exercise was always a big part of my life growing up, and I was very lucky to have that reinforced at an early age. But yeah, most of my life I've always eaten a lot of animal protein, fruit and vegetables, minimal processed food. Just try to eat whole food nutrition. Try not to eat like an asshole.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I occasionally have snacks and stuff. I'm not like a maniac, but yeah, I always just feel mentally and physically better when I'm eating whole foods.
So what is the argument is against meat is not sustainable, like it hurts the planet, all these things. Right. What do you say about that?
Yeah, the last few decades cows and animal products have been demonized for whatever reasons, saying it's bad for the environment and your health, etc. And I think it's just misdirected. I can see the argument when vegans don't want to eat animals for ethical reasons. They're very compassionate, obviously, but as a hunter, spearfishman, I feel like we're also very compassionate, and we want to continue seeing animals in the wild. And hunters are usually some of the best conservationists, and they want to protect, their environment. I think, it's a tricky subject, but I think it's somewhat misdirected. And regarding agriculture, if you read books like Sacred Cow, or even Kiss the Earth, there's a Netflix documentary out. It kind of explains how regenerative agriculture and using ruminant animals can actually replenish the soil if the animals are managed properly through grazing techniques. And it kind of mimics how ruminant animals, like you would see in North America, the bison, right? There's millions and millions of bison and other deer species along North America that just made that soil so rich and nutrient dense because of the biodiversity that these ruminant animals were able to provide the soil. And then you have your natural predators like the wolves and stuff that were, moving the herds away so they wouldn't overgraze a certain area. So that's kind of what farmers do in a regenerative agriculture system. They kind of mimic the predator in moving these animals from different grazing zones or paddocks, so they don't overgraze a certain area and kill the grass. So in a regenerative system, the farmer will let them eat down enough of the grasslands in order to sequester carbon, so that plant is able to regrow and pull carbon from the atmosphere into the soil, because the soil is one of the biggest holders of carbon. And through that system, you create more biodiversity. You see, bugs, insects coming back, birds, etc. Through these systems. There's a great company in Georgia, in the U.S. Called it's blanking on the name. Oh my gosh, blanking on the name right now. What's it called? I'll get back to it. It'll come to me. But they've done research and showing on their farms how much biodiversity has come back to the land through integrating these regenerative practices.
Yeah. There's a TED Talk as well by the Alan Savory. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he shows that, literally cattle regenerative farming is the key to saving global warming and regenerative grasslands and stuff.
And you see it happening right now in Ireland, that they're trying to basically remove 1 million animals, sheep, cows, from the agricultural system in order to reduce the carbon footprint. But I think people don't realize that most of the agricultural land on Earth isn't compatible for growing plants, and you get this hard, rocky soil where only animals can survive and thrive on these different landscapes. So it's not possible to plant certain agricultural crops on these lands. So the best way to farm and actually have nutrient-dense calories for humans is to place animals on these different lands that aren't practical to grow crops. So.
Yeah, and that's something that people don't understand, right? The way I like to describe it is veganism, for example, is taking the plant out of the soil and not putting anything back, right? And then, but with regenerative farming, you're taking it out, but you're also putting it back.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of vegans don't realize too that everything dies in farming. People are spraying pesticides, herbicides. You may not be directly killing an animal, but birds, squirrels, mice, there's rodents that are being, killed by the millions. If you took the biomass and put that compared to a single cow, that's going to feed, I don't know how many people, but you're killing, there's a lot of death in farming, and you can't ignore that fact.
But it's just that cows are bigger animals, so.
Yeah, for whatever reason, like humans put, if it has a certain face or a look, it's like you are more compassionate than another animal.
But speak to that, because that's an interesting topic to talk about, because you're a hunter as well. You've hunted animals, like I'm guessing deer, goose.
No, I haven't. I've done mostly spearfishing.
Okay.
So I'm gearing up right now for a trip to New Zealand for bow hunting.
Oh, nice.
So I've been training.
With the archery, right?
Yeah, the archery. I have the compound bow here. I brought one in, so
nice.
You'll see me on the field sometimes practicing out in front of it. But so I've been gearing up for that, and I think just being able to provide your own food for yourself is just such a like a, what do you call it, invigorating, and like I'm blanking on what it feels like, but
it's primal, right?
It's just like a primal urge, I think, that's in all of us, and it's just a way to like reconnect with our food systems, because it's just so easy just to go to the supermarket and see this perfectly packaged meat and styrofoam and plastic, and it's just, you don't have that same appreciation for your food. When you're out hunting and providing food for yourself and family, it's just very rewarding. That's one of my favorite things to do when I come back spearfishing, is sharing my catch with friends and just like watching them enjoy it, because I know the hours I put in trying to hunt that fish and catch it. Like sometimes I'm out there 8 hours.
Wow.
It goes so quick. Like you just, time stands still when I'm out hunting. But the amount of time and effort that you put in, it's not like I'm going out and I'm successful every time either. I'm probably successful only maybe 25% of the time.
Whoa.
Sometimes it's just a long boat ride and you're just out there freezing cold after a while, because you get cold out in the water. But it's just a very rewarding feeling to be able to provide your own food.
That reminds me of a story when I was on a boat in Flores with Dom. Dom, right? He's a big advocate of. That's how I heard about you, actually, through Dom.
Oh, okay.
And for the first time, and he just jumped off the boat with Johnson, and then 3 hours later he came back and he had like 3 fish.
Yeah.
And we had that for dinner, and I was just, me and my friend Mike were just looking at each other like we're like little bitches. like I can only imagine like how good that must feel to just jump in the water in the ocean and then bring back food. Yeah,
it's really amazing. It's one of the only times too where my mind just completely shuts off and I'm just completely in the zone and like the flow state, and you just don't. You feel so insignificant in the ocean too, because you're a part of the ecosystem and the food chain at that point. And you get, the last few times I've been going out, there's been quite a few sharks. People don't think there's sharks in Bali, but there's sharks here. I can tell you, they get very frisky, especially when you have blood in the water.
Jeez.
Yeah, the last time, because I usually have a stringer and I'll keep fish on my belt.
Yeah.
And if I see sharks in the water, I try to get the fish back in the boat pretty quickly. But this particular shark was getting very aggressive. It was about 10 meters down. It was kind of circling around, and then it would just charge me at the surface. And luckily, you always want to make eye contact because they're predators. So if you turn tail and swim the other way, they're going to think you're prey. So you always want to charge back down. So if I saw it charging back up, I would dive down and meet it head on with my spear gun and just give him a little poke so it would kind of disappear. Really? But yeah, this one particular shark would, like, even diving down and pushing it away, it just was getting so aggressive. Its dorsal fins were down, is in that kind of, that hunting stage. So I'm like, all right, got my dive buddy, and we went to the next spot.
Whoa! So you're literally poking sharks.
Yeah, they get very close. Especially if there's blood in the water, I think just that switch turns on, and you're like, okay.
How big was the shark? Like, was it a tiger shark? Was it?
No. It was. I think what do they call it? A bronze whaler. It's an oceanic shark. Because we were out blue water hunting.
Right.
Off these fads. They're called. A fad is an acronym for fish acquisition device. a lot of local fishermen will place these kind of artificial reefs out in open water. It's usually 800 to 900 meters deep, and they'll just drop a chain and create this little bamboo raft, and that creates a little ecosystem out in the ocean that brings in small fish, bait fish, and then the bigger predatory fish. So you can go and hunt around those fads. Yeah, it gets a little nerve-wracking, especially when you're in the middle of nowhere and there's big predators around.
I can imagine. Yeah, damn. So was you like fearing for your life at that point, or
no?
You experienced it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I grew up in Southern California spearfishing, and there's much bigger sharks. Great whites, obviously, are very prevalent. In my hometown in San Clemente, there was a point one summer where I think they spotted 10 great white sharks in a single drone shot. This guy, he flew up his drone and he took a bird's eye view, and there's just like 10 little dots, and they're all great whites right where I go spearfishing all the time. So you kind of get like, oh, that's always in the back of your mind when you're out there, but you try not to overthink it.
What about the ethics of hunting? Because that's something that people want to know, because most people don't hunt, right?
Right,
right. So you spoke about enjoying your kill, but what about the ethical side of that? Just for people listening, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I always have the philosophy: you only take what you're going to eat.
Yeah.
And I think that was ingrained in a very early age. I had good mentors that were, ethical hunters, spearfishermen. There's always those wahoos out there that don't care, and they're just going to kill whatever they see. But I'm always very selective on what I'm going to take. So it's, it was just whoever I'm diving with. I try not to ever dive alone. I always make sure that they have the same values as me. Because if I saw somebody just being an idiot and shooting whatever, and not appreciating the catch either. So we always try to utilize as much of the animal as possible, so nothing goes to waste. It's just about keeping yourself in check, and then also the community as well. And just calling people out when they're being idiots.
Yeah, because so hundreds of years ago we used to hunt, right? Like we used to go and kill pigs and deer and stuff. Right. And a lot of people now they don't think we did that. Like it's just weird.
It's so strange. And I was reading a stat right after World War II. Most of the servicemen came back, and it was like 80% were hunting. Like it was and this is only a generation ago, after World War II. So for whatever reason, people have gotten so disconnected from hunting and gathering and knowing where their food comes from. And it's so strange to me that people that don't like or offended by hunting and then still eat meat, that still like baffles me. I'm like, wait, where do you think that meat comes from?
Right.
Like, it's not coming from a lab. Maybe it is, but I think people are just so disconnected from nature. That's why I love hunting and being out in nature. It's just a way for me to relax. Anything, like I don't even have to be catching something per se. Like just being out in the elements is the reward.
It's just such a cool business for you, especially because you live your life like this. This is, I mean, you've been spearfishing since you were a kid. Like you're connected to nature. You've been eating animal nutrition since you were young. So this is like the perfect fit for your personality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the foraging side of it is amazing. Even though we're not like foraging cows, but it's about finding the best ingredients and the best animals that we can provide our customers, and knowing that like the source is as best as you can get. I'm experimenting right now with just kind of my own personal project of eating more local beef. So I'm planning on doing. I'll purchase my own cow and then place it on one of our farmers' lands, and then fatten it up a bit, and then harvest it when it's ready, and then use that meat to share with friends. So we'll do kind of like a crowd cow sharing program, just with my friends here, and then see if that translates into something Bali Forages can do. but that's like a whole different business model and kind of a bigger project because all of our products are shelf stable at this stage. So, but yeah, I think it's especially now, like after COVID and with some restrictions on importing beef from abroad, it's getting harder to get quality meat here. So I kind of want to take this next step to just sourcing beef here and having my own supply, just in case like there's an issue where it's harder to get imported beef. So I'm trying to like think a few steps ahead. And
That's actually something that I wanted to talk to you about because, you know, we're going into a depression now, whatever. I think we're going into a depression. Some people say,
recession for sure.
Yeah. But then some people are saying that there's going to be lots of food shortages within the next 12 to 24 months.
Right.
And I don't know what's going to happen, but that's a possibility, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
You want to be self-sustained and grow your own food.
Yeah, and we kind of saw this happening at the start of Bali Forages too, just because when we were sourcing our meat from New Zealand, the prices were just getting crazy. Like we would have had to charge double of what we're charging now for the jerky and chips. So yeah, it's somewhat of a hedging our bets. Obviously, like all of our beef products are sourced here in Bali. We might expand in Indonesia just to have different supplies. But yeah, I think it's a real possibility that you can't access certain foods, especially being on an island. You're kind of isolated, and you feel that a little bit more if there's a food shortage. So yeah, I'm just kind of exploring right now how I can kind of secure that source. Obviously, I got the fish covered. I usually go on a trip once a month to stock my freezer of fish, but that's a lot of effort. So with the cattle, obviously a cow, you'll have a lot of protein. So I'm gonna be buying a big deep freezer just so I can have access to that meat.
Yeah, and for those listening, because there's a lot of people that don't understand anything about this world, right? Like about no-till nutrition, like all this stuff. So one cow, I think I'm correct. One cow can feed a family of 4 for more than a year, a little bit over a year, 370 days or something.
Right,
is what I read once.
Yeah, I mean, if you're probably us, we maybe a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, right. You might need some more or bigger cows maybe. But yeah, so what do we figure the ratio? So about a 250 kilo cow will give you about 100 kilos of meat, and then you get the bones and everything that you can make into broths and bone marrow. So you get quite a bit of meat off a single cow. That's why it's good to share, unless you got big freezers. But I think the best thing to do is just to share the harvest with your friends, and hopefully we can make this a little bit more readily available. I'm just kind of going through the logistics right now, seeing how it's going to work. But I want to do, obviously, we're trying to do a mobile harvest or mobile slaughter of the cow as well, because there's a lot of stress on the animal when it's being moved from place to place. So we're going to try to create a mobile unit that comes directly to the farm and processes the animal right there, and then it takes it to the aging stage where it's hanged and aged properly. Because a lot of the if you go to some of the animal markets here and the wet markets, like they're not aging the meat properly. It's just being slaughtered and then going straight to market with no aging, and it gets a little bit tough and gamey. So I'm going to experiment with that process and make it a little bit more delicious.
Yeah. So what is the aging process exactly? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So it's usually it's not being frozen, but it's in a cold storage facility, and you typically want to age it anywhere between 14 plus days, and that just helps break down some of the muscle fibers, so you get out the chewiness of the meat. And it makes a huge difference.
So you just put it in a fridge, or do you have to have a specific fridge for aging?
Yeah, well, not any fridge, because it's got to be big open area, because it's big chunks of meat, and then from there you'll go and make it into your smaller cuts, like your ribeyes and steaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is cool. So animal nutrition, so these are the healthiest snacks you can eat in the world, right?
I believe so. I mean, it's pretty high protein. I just love how simple the ingredients are. No BS, easy to travel with, shelf stable, up to 6 months. So yeah.
Are you guys thinking of making liver chips?
I think so. Going to be doing a little bit more R&D. We might do just. There's a lot of people in the carnivore community. Also, they've just been asking us to make just a simple, just a beef or jerky with just salt. So we might do something like that. But the liver chips might be an option as well. I know we've done it before in the past. It's just getting the consistency down. I just have to do some R&D. But I think there's a company in the U.S. called Epic Provisions, and they do a great range of nose to tail snacks, and they do some of these meat bars that are amazing. So we might come out with some just different textures.
That'd be cool, like a beef bar.
Yeah. It'd be just a different texture on the go snack.
Yeah, because I'm thinking this could be a bar. Like you could make this into a bar, right?
Yeah, easily. Yeah, and then just experimenting with different flavors and local seasonings and stuff like that.
So talk to us about the organ meats, like the liver. Why is that so important for people to have these nutrients in their diet?
Yeah, I think organ meats have been, going back to hunter-gatherer societies, some of the most prized parts of the animal. Native American tribes obviously believe like the heart and liver carried a lot of like nutritional value and then connectedness to the animal. So that was kind of like the prized possession for many generations. It's some of the most nutrient dense parts of the animal. You have like all your fat soluble vitamins, choline, which is a precursor to acetylcholine, which is helps with neurotransmitters. So it's great for your brain health. The fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A is great for your immune system, your hair, skin, and nails. So it's like one of the first things that the testimonials we get are feedback of people that are just kind of introducing organ meats to their diet, is that like the energy they feel, first of all. I think that's what the heme iron helps oxygenate.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Anyways, brings oxygen to your blood. The feeling of energy and vitality. A lot of our male clients are talking about like the blood flow that comes downstairs, and they're waking up with some morning wood. And they're like, okay, that's a good sign, good sign of vitality.
Absolutely.
And people's acne clearing up. But we're just getting a great feedback from our community introducing these supplements to their diet. And a lot of people just aren't willing to eat the fresh organs if they're just gonna cook it. Some people just don't like the taste. I do like the taste of liver. It's doesn't bother me. But if you want to kind of like slowly introduce these into your diet, I think taking it in a capsule form is just easy.
And how many capsules do people need to take every day?
We recommend like 4 to 6. 6 is about 30 grams of raw organ meat. And it's a blend of liver, heart, kidney, and spleen. I think it's about, majority of it is liver. I think liver is kind of the most nutrient dense of the 4.
So with that, people are getting all the nutrients that they're higher in organ meats than they are in muscle meat. Like, for example, liver versus ribeye.
Right.
Like the vitamin A is way higher in liver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're getting a lot more micronutrients and minerals in there.
Yeah, and this is why the results you're just speaking about are happening, right?
Yeah.
Because they're getting all these micronutrients that
Right.
they're not necessarily getting outside of their their diet.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of, I call them recovering vegans that will, introduce these for the first time. And I always tell them to kind of start slow. You want your body to adjust properly, especially if you haven't been eating animal products. But they'll just take like a few capsules and just be like so energized. It's like, yeah, okay, that's what my body was missing.
Right.
And we get this feedback a lot.
Yeah. And also you have oysters too. You have
Right.
desiccated oysters.
Yeah. So we do the desiccated oysters. It's just taking the oyster flesh and same process, freeze drying it, powdering, capsuling. Great source of zinc, copper, other trace minerals. And we source that here in Indonesia as well.
So that's like all fresh.
All fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many capsules do they need to take of that every day?
We recommend 4. So 1 capsule is about the equivalent of 2 oysters.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's great.
So they're eating like 4 oysters a day, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I know that has a massive effect on everything because I eat oysters every week, and
Right.
So
yeah, great for collagen production,
Yeah.
your immune system, the zinc. Yeah.
And zinc is what a lot of men who struggle with fertility issues are low on zinc, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the most like bioavailable. A lot of times when you take like a synthetic supplement too, your body's just gonna excrete it through urine, or it gets stored in your organs, which is not good. That can create some health problems as well. So when it comes in a whole food form, that's ideally like where you want to get your nutrition.
Yeah. That's like the biggest problem with the supplement industry and as a whole, right? It's like it's just full of crap, and people are buying it because of the fancy marketing.
Yeah.
But actually, the product is full of fillers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a lot of times, like I mentioned, like it will just get built up in your body, and that can create a lot of health issues that people aren't aware of. So I always just recommend trying to eat whole food nutrition. It's the start.
Yeah, that's pretty much like what Bali Forages is, right? It's like you stand for whole food nutrition.
Absolutely.
That's it. Like eating nose to tail, and your health will be amazing.
Yeah, right. I think you have to have a balance of healthy nutrition, movement. All these things are factors into a healthy lifestyle, and if you don't have one you can't have one without the other. Essentially, to have a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, so you're working out a lot. I see you doing a lot of home workouts as well.
Yeah,
So
I think
you mix it up a bit with the
Yeah, I
gym.
mix it up. I have I go to the gym every once in a while with some training partners, but I think with the lockdown and stuff, I had the home gym and just kind of got used to training because I also have the home office, so it's just easy to get it done quickly. And yeah, there's no time wasted going to the gym and coming back, and just kind of get it done first thing in the day. Yeah, I think that movement has always been part of my life, and having that as a way just to kind of reset and recalibrate has always helped me mentally.
And that movement in nature as well. Like you do a lot of you do a lot of trips in nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think most of my training is so I can do trips in nature, so I can go out spearfishing for 8 hours or go on big hikes, and so yeah, a lot of my training, I do a lot of like, I guess, functional fitness stuff with kettlebells, and yeah, it's most of my training is just so I can go out and do these activities.
Do you think that if you didn't have that hobby of doing all these activities, that you would be fat? Because that's the reason why you're training, right? Have you ever thought about that?
Oh, maybe. No, I don't think I'd be fat. No. My ego and vanity would get in the way. Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, I grew up as an athlete. I played baseball and football, and so yeah, that's always been just kind of a part of my life. It's kind of like a non-negotiable. It's like I always got to train. It's just like breathing.
Yeah, and it's you're very fortunate to have parents who are very health conscious, right? So you were born into that at an early age. So you weren't like most American kids who were just eating junk, like grilled cheese sandwiches and like all that crap.
Right.
I mean, maybe you had those things, but like you weren't like addicted to them or addicted to candy or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like a staple part of my diet. It was like more of a treat, like nothing I would have frequently. Yeah, I think that it's always just helped me with mental, physical health. Is just when I'm training properly, eating properly, I feel like everything else falls in line. And when I don't do those things, like I can feel myself, straying a bit, and especially when I'm not eating well. Like I feel like that's the first thing to go. Is like I just feel scatterbrained and not all like the mental clarity just goes away. So I just try to have those things in place, especially if I'm traveling. I try to figure out, okay, like what am I going to eat while I'm away? I'll have my beef organs and my oysters on standby, and I'll pack some jerky and stuff. But like, yeah, sometimes when I'm traveling, I get a little anxious. I'm like, shoot, what am I going to eat?
That's a big problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like people I work with, a lot of times they fall off when they travel because they don't know what to eat. But that's before they start understanding that, hey, animal nutrition is king. So how do you deal with that when you're traveling, like eating?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll pack a bunch of these. That's for sure. I think I try to. I'll do some fasting as well. I try not to eat on the plane. If I'm going to a place, I try to just get as much of animal protein. I try to keep my protein intake high, just so I feel satiated and don't feel snacky. So I don't like grab a bag of chips or something, or I just feel full. But yeah, I'm not like a crazy person either. Like I'll enjoy a meal out, but I think just having enough animal protein and stuff to feel satiated kind of keeps you on track.
Yeah, and it's that simple, isn't it? It's really that simple.
It is, yeah.
People try and complicate it, but it's literally that.
Yeah. I think it's one of the first things like I tell people when they're like trying to get on a diet or something or transition is like, are you getting enough protein? Or especially animal protein, like you feel so full after. You can't overeat a steak.
True.
You'll get so full so quickly. So if you kind of start that with your base, and then you can fill in your other macronutrients, it's kind of as simple as it gets.
Yeah, and you have collagen supplements also.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we call it bone collagen matrix, because it's not just collagen, but you also have it's made with bone marrow, bone, tendon, ligaments. So you get all your 9 essential amino acids plus your collagen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So you're actually using all the parts of the animal that make up the collagen.
Yeah, because as part of our nose to tail philosophy is try to use as much of the animal as possible. So yeah.
How does that help people though? Like, what were the results that you've seen from your customers taking that supplement?
Yeah, I think a lot of digestion issues are cleared up with the amino acids. People's skin clear up. I think joint pain is reduced. I had my parents get on the collagen and beef organs and oysters when they were here last, and then they're in their 70s. And my mom was like having hip issues, and I got her on our program, and her hip issues like went away and within a few weeks. And then she went off when she went back to the U.S. and she ran out of her supply, and the hip issues came back again. I don't know if it's anecdotal, but it seemed to be something that helps her with some of her joint pain.
Yeah, and collagen's like really powerful for the like healing, right? It's in general, and also the skin as well.
Yeah, you need the amino acids that help build muscle, collagen production, etc.
But collagen's a huge industry, right? Like there's so much, there's so many beauty firms that sell collagen cream and all this crap. It's like
there's a lot out there. It's a competitive market, but just kind of doing our own thing. Try not to look at what other people are doing too much, and just say, believe in our products.
Yeah, because it's so simple. Like, I mean, for me, I do like chicken feet broth and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, like I eat bone broth and all that stuff, and it's really helped me. I notice a difference like, in the strength of my bones, like my skin, like the energy levels. You know, like just my joints, all that stuff.
Right.
And like it's so easy, it's so simple to just get the collagen from the animal. Yeah. And then that's it. You're sorted.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like you have to, if you want to build muscle, I think you gotta eat muscle. It kind of sounds crazy, but like I think you need these amino acids that are in animal products to, build muscle, build collagen, all these things.
So you're going to New Zealand to hunt, you said?
Yeah, so I'm trying to. I have a few friends over there that I'm coordinating with to line up a trip. I was going to go back to the U.S., but it's a little bit more planning. And New has kind of a very interesting ecosystem because all of the big game animals there are all considered like invasive species because they've been introduced by man. So there's not really any seasons or limitations as you do in the U.S. The U.S., it's for all of its kind of faults with other government programs, the fish and game services that the U.S. has are probably the best in the world. The way that they manage animals and seasons and stuff, it's a great program. But yeah, out in New Zealand, you have a little bit more options when it comes to hunting. So yeah, the plan is to I've been practicing here, making sure my skill sets are up to par before I go and harvest an animal, because that's the worst thing, is being able to like get there and then have a shot and injure the animal for some reason and not have a quick clean death. Something that you never want to happen as a hunter. It's like the worst feeling. I have it happen every once in a while when I'm spearfishing. You'll hit a fish and it gets off for some reason, and it's like the worst feeling. It just like ruins your day. Really? Yeah, it's just like because you injure it and you're not able to harvest it yourself, and it's probably not going to make it. But obviously it's going to get eaten, but not by you.
Right. That's interesting. So I never thought about that. So yeah. That's a fascinating perspective.
Yeah. I had a really cool story. Like when I was out hunting maybe 2 months ago, I was out in the blue water hunting wahoo, and typically like the wahoo, if you shoot your gun, it's going to make a loud noise, and if you hit a fish, all the other fish are going to scatter. And I was coming down. You're not diving too deep when you're hunting wahoo. They're more at the first water column at the top. And I dropped down and was kind of using the fad as cover, and came up aiming up at the fish, and I shot, and the spear penetrated the fish, but I have like a little Hawaiian flopper at the end, which helps secure the fish on the spear shaft. And for whatever reason, it didn't engage, and the spear just slid out of the fish, and it took off, and the whole other school took off. I'm like, shoot, okay, that's blew that location. We're gonna have to move on. And then I'm like reloading my gun, and out of the corner of my eye, I see the fish I just shot like coming back. And I typically have like this little flasher, and it's like a little shiny object I'll throw to attract the fish in. So as I'm reloading the gun, I get the gun loaded, and I throw the flasher, and the thing just turns and it comes right at me, and it gives me like this perfect shot, and I'm able to shoot it again for the second time and land it. Wow. And pull it back in, and I was like, oh my gosh, saved.
Oh, that's like, amazing.
I was just so bummed. I'm like, I hurt this fish, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
And I was able to like get it back.
That must have felt so exhilarating and just like satisfying.
Yeah, I think it was the best tasting fish I've ever had.
So when you catch the fish, do you know how to like fillet it and all that stuff?
Yeah, fillet it, cook it, everything. Yeah, it's really good sashimi too. The wahoo especially, it's a very good like white meat. Yeah, it's delicious.
Wow. And so when you're hunting game on land, game is on land, right? So when you're hunting that, you know how to harvest it, you know how to cut it up and stuff. Yeah,
so I've been practicing here with just like some cows and goats and stuff, so doing field harvesting will be part of the experience.
Yeah, that'll be. Are you going to film that?
I think so. Yeah, I have to. Yeah. I want to get people on the experience. I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky when you post. I'll post fish. People are fine with fish, but I feel like when you post big game, I'm gonna get so much hate. I don't know. I might not share that. We'll see.
This whole world of hunting, like forages, your name, like forages, like foraging for food, like finding your own food. I mean, that's like when you hunt game like field hunting, right? Like it's yeah, people come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah,
It's just a weird mental thing, because like people won't say anything about fish, like you said,
right.
but when you throw like a big like cow or whatever, like, you know, it's
Yeah,
different.
people lose their minds. Yeah.
So what hate have you had since you started this? How have you
Man, it's amazing. We haven't had really any.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought we were gonna just get killed, like, especially with people in the boat and stuff. I'm like, all right, when's it coming? When's it coming? But yeah, it's been pretty positive. I think with the messaging of regenerative agriculture, supporting local farmers, the nutrition that you get from the food. Yeah, we've been pretty lucky that way. And if it comes, I don't know. I don't think I'm not going to respond negatively or anything like that. It's just kind of part of the business. But yeah, it's just trying to educate people on how to raise better meat, and you know, educating people on the nutrition and the value it brings to people.
Yeah. Yeah, because people they're not aware of it. Like, I mean, like we said earlier, like the whole world's trying to demonize meat.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, go vegan and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that just don't understand, and they're just taking whatever's being fed to them. Like, oh yeah, I should go vegan because everyone's going vegan.
Right.
But they don't actually know why.
Yeah, exactly. I just I'm hoping it's a fad and people like understand, like, if they transition. I'm sure there's vegans out there that are, you know, thriving, but I'm also sure that they're supplementing with a lot of different things, and that's just not accessible to most people. I think if you're vegan and you're supplementing with all these other things like B12 and things that you need and you can't get necessarily from plants, and you can from animal-based diets, like, a lot of people just don't have access to those resources, especially in developing countries. Like, if you told someone in Indonesia to go vegan, they'd be like, well, I don't know how fair that is, because maybe they don't have access to supplementation, and they can get it directly from animal products where it's, you know, grown all over, free range. There's cattle all over. There's goats, chickens. So,
Yeah.
So.
And that's another thing. So, like, your supplements are the bone collagen, right? The oysters and the beef organs, which is a mixture of like spleen, heart, kidney.
Yep.
Yeah. And the beef jerky and the beef chips. So what other products are you planning on launching?
Yeah, we haven't. We've done some R&D just on different beef snacks. We might start doing other animal products. We've been kind of R&Ding some chicken chips and stuff sourced from free range chickens here that aren't fed corn and soy. So yeah, I think Indonesia there's not a lot of people eating beef in Bali, but the beef consumption is on the rise in the rest of the country. But a lot of more people eat chicken in Indonesia over beef. So we kind of will experiment with something along those lines. But yeah, we don't have too many other products in the works. We're just kind of like focusing on scaling this side of the business. We're working with a few government agencies and universities on doing some clinical trials with the beef organs, and just seeing how those are benefiting people's health. So there's Udayana University that's locally based here, and they're going to help us with some grants and getting government resources to help do these studies.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So that will be, yeah, they're really interested in our products, and especially supporting the local farmers and stuff. Because a lot of people don't know this, just even a generation ago, people in Bali, most of it was agriculture, people working on farms. It's just recent history that everybody kind of like went into tourism and hospitality. And with COVID, a lot of these people were out of jobs and went back to the farms. So being able to support local farmers is huge. And I think the government kind of wants to have that as like kind of hedging if there is another pandemic or natural disaster and tourism just goes away. I think there's a big push to get people back into agriculture.
And that's so cool that you're supporting the local farmers here in Bali. Like all these products are from Bali, like the cows in Bali.
Yep, all sourced here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you want to continue that and also grow your own, rear your own, right?
Yeah, I think just as my own it's kind of a personal passion project experiment, and just see if we can scale that somehow. But right now it's just kind of my own little personal mission.
Yeah. So what are the plans for scaling Bali Forages as far as like international distribution, or what's the plans for it?
Yeah, we're exploring that right now. We have a big export order to Hong Kong. It's just a matter of there's a lot of red tape when it comes to exporting beef. Because there's a lot of restrictions on, there's mad cow disease that everybody is afraid of, but there's never been a case in Bali or Indonesia.
Yeah.
So that's like one thing, like we can't ever export to the US where they've had mad cow disease, but they won't accept it. It's just a lot of bureaucracy. So there are countries that do accept beef products from Indonesia, but right now Indonesia is just such a massive growing market with the growing middle class and people wanting access to healthy, nutritious products. So the focus right now is kind of Indonesia. We just started kind of expanding to other parts of Indonesia and Java. Just got stocked at Pepito Market here in Bali, and some other big wholesalers coming in Jakarta and Surabaya. So we're just kind of like expanding into the whole wholesaler market.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of our focus right now is just kind of growing in Indonesia, because we kind of went through that organic phase where it kind of blew up here in Bali, just kind of growing through the rest of the country. Oh, also I have to mention we did was it 2 weeks ago we were at the Indonesian food startup and made the top 15 food startups in Indonesia.
Congrats.
So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got honored for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your demographic of customer then? If you're expanding in Indonesia, it must be Indonesians, right?
Yeah. It kind of started with the expat community here in Bali, just through my own network, and then we started kind of doing some marketing in Jakarta and stuff, and I think people are a lot more familiar with beef jerky. The beef organs, collagen, and oysters are a very niche market, but there's so much talk on social media about the benefits of organ meats right now with the Liver King and like Joe Rogan having these people on their podcast that people know about it and have like heard it, and then they end up looking for these supplements and see how it's priced very high here in Indonesia, and then they stumble upon our products and see it's made here in Indonesia, and they like our brand and our story, so people have kind of gravitated towards our brand.
That's cool. So you're branching out into Indonesia, Indonesia is the 4th largest country in the world, so it's a huge market here.
Yeah, and I think people are becoming more health conscious and aware of like where their food comes from, and they're proud that it's made here in Indonesia. So.
I guess that's a big part of it, right? Like the pride that it's from Bali, from a country in Indonesia, a place in Indonesia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so with the marketing side of things, like how are you doing that? Are you just running ads, or are you getting influencers? Like what's the plan?
We just started working with KOLs, key opinion leaders, influencers. We're doing some paid ads as well. I think the KOLs have been like great, especially with the Indonesian market. Working on some content right now, just doing some videos and stuff like that. Probably do some like brand partnerships, just to spread the word with brands that are already kind of established. That's kind of been word of mouth is obviously the best marketing you can get. So that's been great, especially the testimonials we get with the beef organs and collagen and oysters. A lot of people are just telling their friends, and then they're reordering, and it's just kind of like expanded that way.
Yeah, because the word of mouth thing is like, yeah. I mean, that's how I heard of it from Dom, right? Just shared it like word of mouth because it's like solid products, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. If your friend is taking it and they're feeling the benefits, then you're obviously going to trust your friend.
Yeah, and because I trust Dom, I was like, oh shit, because he's been in the space. He's been a nutritionist for 10 years. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he's so knowledgeable about everything. So yeah, he's been great.
Yeah,
great advocate.
So now you're sourcing it from Bali, and it's going to continue. So is there ever going to be a time where you stop sourcing from Bali?
I think, yeah, if we want to expand, I think it's more about just securing our supply chain. So Bali, the Bali cow in particular is a very unique breed. It's one of the only cattle breeds that's ancestors still in the wild. And it's a very resilient species. They can live on a very like low quality diet and still thrive. And they're used to extreme temperatures and droughts. And Bali actually doesn't allow the import of other cattle to the islands because they're trying to preserve that breed of cow. And so they have a large breeding program. The herd right now in Bali is around 600,000 head of cattle, and they're trying to get that number to over 1 million by, I think, 2025. So there's a big breeding program that we've visited and trying to work with, so they can increase that size of the herd. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there's, I think 90% of the cattle are from smallholder family farms. So I think we want to take this model that we're building here in Bali and try to expand that to different islands as well.
Yeah. That's cool. So for that, you needed a lot more staff, I'm guessing, like a lot more contacts.
A lot more staff, research. Yeah, so like our big goal for Bali Forages, and this is a very lofty goal, to become Asia's first regenerative, organic, and humane certified cattle operation. Something like this hasn't been done in Asia. It's been done in North America. But it's, yeah, just a lot of grant money, research, networking, and just kind of, yeah, building the business. So we're kind of starting small, but have, yeah, some pretty big goals for where the company's headed.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm just curious, like, what would you be doing if you didn't stumble upon this? If you weren't making beef jerky in your house, like, what would you be doing now?
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe just living in the wild, hunting, gathering. Yeah, I mean, I have a background in finance and stuff, and worked in that area for a bit, and then worked in health and wellness. Yeah, I think I think my passion is health and wellness, nutrition. So I think I probably would have found something similar if it wasn't this, but I think this just fits my personality and my passions and lifestyle so much. I think somehow I just was meant to kind of be on this path.
What's the hardest part about the business side of things?
I think for me as a foreigner in Indonesia, it's hard to navigate. I do have 2 business partners that are Indonesian, so that has helped me tremendously, because a lot of times networking or just dealing with the bureaucracy here in Indonesia is just so hard as an expat. So you kind of need those business partners to lean on, just to navigate those waters, and because there's cultural differences and miscommunication as a foreigner that you just like, some things are just, it would take much longer, I feel like. So that's helped me having business partners like that.
And you trust these, obviously you trust them a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we were doing other things together before this.
Right.
And it was kind of just a passion project that turned into this bigger mission.
Yeah, because you started a company before this, right?
Yeah, I had a tech company in the content creation space for events and tourism, and we were just launching, like literally just getting ready to launch at all the beach clubs and events here, and then COVID hit, and all of our contracts just got pulled. So all their budgets dried up, obviously. So it's like, all right, well, what am I going to do now? So
yeah, and then you stumbled across this. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think serendipitous a bit, but it worked out.
Yeah, and so from here now, you're obviously planning to dominate Indonesia and then Asia, be the number 1 in Asia. That's the goal.
I think so. Yeah. I think we're working right now on our exports to Southeast Asia and the ASEAN countries. They've different trade agreements, so that will be kind of easier to focus on Asia. I don't think we'll push North America or Australia at all, because there's just lots of competitors out there, and Asia is a big enough market for us to kind of focus on.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that would be the kind of
and it
focus.
fits because as far as I'm aware, there's no one else doing this right now.
No, not here. Yeah. So we're kind of trying to pave the way in that space in Asia. I'm sure there'll be competitors, but yeah, it's very tricky to start business here in Indonesia, especially like if you're not a big business. It takes a lot of time and effort. So I think we'll be kind of far enough ahead if competitors pop up. But we'll focus on what we're doing and kind of keep the blinders on that way with competition. Yeah.
So for people listening, sorry, I'm just gonna get some more chips.
Yeah, go for it.
How does someone become a spearfisher? Like, what's the steps?
Oh man!
Like if someone's like, oh fuck, I want to do that. I want to jump off a boat.
Yeah, I think the first thing you want to do is take a proper freediving course and just get comfortable in the water. It's freediving and spearfishing in general is very dangerous. So you get a lot of people in the community die every year from shallow water blackout or getting tangled in the line or getting hit by a boat propeller. It's just a lot of elements that can injure you. Just being as comfortable in the water as possible. There's some great freediving instructors here in Bali. I would get acclimated with that. And then when I started, I got into it because my dad was into it. And usually start with a pole spear, which is a long pole with like a band at the end. It's like a Hawaiian sling. Any friends that I take out, I usually have them start with that. It's just a way to get comfortable in the water. You're not going to have your dive buddy accidentally shoot you with the spear gun. It's not going to go off accidentally, because that's one thing I'm always a little afraid of newbies. You're like, watch where you point that gun. Right. But yeah, it's just, and it gets you comfortable with the fish too, because when you're spearfishing, you want to act like you're just part of the environment. As soon as you act like a predator or start chasing fish, you're never going to get close enough. So you got to be very relaxed and calm, and then the fish will come to you. If you're spastic and sporadic, you're just going to scare off everything in the ocean. So that's why the freediving course kind of gets you into that state where you're just calm and cool, collected, and it's just about observing. Typically, you just want to go the few times and just observe the fish behavior and see how they act in their natural environment, and that just gets you more comfortable as a hunter.
So that time you mentioned earlier about the hitting the shark, was that like the scariest time that you've had in spearfishing?
No, I've had times where I've like gotten tangled in kelp. In Southern California, we have these big kelp forests and stuff. I always dive with a dive buddy. I did go through a spurt where I was diving alone. I was like, okay, this is not safe. Because a lot of people die they call it shallow water blackout, and that's just like too much CO2 built up in your blood, and you end up blacking out at the surface. Because at the surface, the first 10 meters is the biggest pressure change. So typically you're not going to pass out in deep water, but you're going to pass out more towards the surface because of that pressure change. But yeah, if you're diving alone and you're at the surface, you're just going to sink. Nobody's going to be able to rescue you. I was watching like too many stories on my feed of spear fishermen dying, and I'm like, okay, not a good thing to be diving alone. But yeah, I'm just going to be self-aware. You always want, if you're shooting big game, I typically use either a reel or a float line. And you want to be cautious of that line, because if you shoot a big fish and that line tangles around your foot and it takes off, like it's dragging you to the bottom. Like so you got to be very like self-aware and kind of start slow and always dive with a dive buddy.
So that blackout, have you had that happen to you?
Only in training.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you're pretty much done for the day. You don't push your body past that. But that's just get your first free diving course in and get comfortable with all the safety procedures, and then start slow.
Yeah, because that's one of my things, right? Like if you shoot the fish and the fish takes off, like let's say you're in the water, you're in the water, you shoot the fish,
right,
and the fish just takes off because it's just powerful.
Yeah.
Then it takes you with it because you just shot it.
Right. Yeah. So I either hunt with a reel on my gun, so the spear shaft is connected to a reel on the gun, and that usually has 200-300 meters of line. But there's fish that get too big for a reel, and they'll just spool it and take all your line and your gun and potentially you if you don't let go. So that's when you use a breakaway buoy system. So have you seen the movie Jaws?
Yeah.
So when they shoot the shark with the harpoon, and then it's connected to the big buckets or barrels rather at the surface. It's kind of that same concept. So your spear shaft is connected to a buoy or line, and then that's connected to a float system at the top. So your gun is completely detached from the spear shaft, so you're able to kick up and fight the fish from the surface, rather than it being attached to you or your gun. So it's a much safer way to hunt big fish.
Right. Okay. And you have all this equipment.
Yeah. Typically, we'll typically have two setups depending on, because you never know in open water, especially you never know like what kind of fish is going to swim by. So you'll have typically like two different guns set up. But it's fun, man. Like I hope I'll be doing that the rest of my life. Yeah, it's amazing.
What's the most amazing part? Is obviously when you catch the fish, or I'm guessing when you actually have that in your hand, like the fish you've been eyeing.
Yeah, I think just the whole experience. Like even if I don't catch anything, I'm still stoked. Like just being on the water for 8 hours, I'd do that all day, every day. But yeah, the catching the fish is obviously very exhilarating. But it's also, I also have like a come down too. It typically happens the next day. It's like you get such an adrenaline rush and like you're so ecstatic, and then afterwards you're like, oh man, that was a lot. You just have to kind of decompress a bit and like take it all in. But I just love everything about it. And then sharing the catch with my friends and family afterwards, it's like the best tasting fish. You're able to share that catch.
And do you always cook it, or do you have someone cook it?
I'll cook it, and then one of my friends I go spearfishing with up in North Bali, he's a great cook for cooking fish, so I let him kind of take the reins on that. But you don't really need many ingredients. It's so fresh and delicious. You use a little butter and some seasoning, and you're good to go.
That's a really healthy diet you have there.
Yeah. Oh man, I could live off of that for sure.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do kind of like an experiment, just like drop me off on an island to see how I can survive for a bit.
Like Castaway. I watched that like a few months ago, and I was like, and then when I met you, I was thinking about that because I know you and Dom spearfish, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Like that's something that, I mean, I've been scared about doing free diving because of what you just said, and I've heard stories of people saying that free diving is quite dangerous, and but again, it's just having a great teacher, the right teacher.
Yeah. Once you kind of are knowledgeable of all the risks and have the right people around you, it becomes much more safe.
Yeah. But that whole idea of like, what we just said about Castaway, being on the island and then just having that confidence and skill set to know that I can go in the ocean and bring back food. Yeah. That is so powerful. It's so freeing, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm reading a book right now called, what is it? Shoot, I'm blanking on the name, by Michael Oyster. The Comfort Crisis by Michael Oyster. And he's a writer, but he's been following a bunch of outdoorsmen and big game hunters around the Arctic and stuff. And he talks about how like liberating it is to be able to just like go out into the woods and survive for 30 days with like just the food that you're carrying on your back, and then the food that you're going to be catching out in the bush. Like, yeah, that's amazing. That's like what I aspire to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like the pinnacle, right? Like, I think being a man is just, you know, that's raw and primal. Like, I'm going to go out there and find food for my family, you know?
Right. And there's something always in the back of my mind, and even as a kid, I've always just wanted to be like an outdoorsman and live off the land. Like, it's something primal in the back of my mind that I've always just like been thinking about.
Yeah.
And I think now as an adult, like, I'm able to kind of like bring this all together and live my life that way. And yeah, being able to go out and bow hunting later this year, that's just going to bring it all full circle.
Yeah.
And yeah, just building that skill set and being comfortable in the outdoors. And yeah, I think it's just very liberating.
Absolutely, yeah. Living off the land is so important.
Yeah.
That's one of your life goals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to have a balance, like be in society as well. Like, I think you can get a little, you know, stir crazy out in the bush, but just having access to the wild is, crucial.
It's so calming, and I was just in Munduk at e-community.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we saw your products there.
Yeah,
saw all your products there.
Yeah.
And that was, it's so calming just being in nature. Just,
it really is.
Yeah, just being in nature is like the best. It's so rejuvenating.
Yeah.
You know?
Just no cell service, no social media, lots of people. It's just, it's a way to, I think, recalibrate, and just, we're so like in our own thoughts and constantly on our phones these days, and out in nature when you're freediving in particular, like, you're just so unplugged. There's no, like, all that white noise just gets shut off, and you're just, all your senses just get heightened too. It's crazy. And it doesn't take that long. Like, the first hour in, you're like, okay, like, the spidey senses kind of kick in, and you feel like that natural instinct come back. And I feel like so many people are disconnected from that feeling now. Just being like the quietness. It's just like, you can't get that.
So like your own version of meditation.
It really is, yeah. I had this crazy like outer body experience when I was spearfishing in California, and it was like I was playing a video game. I was like, I don't know if I contributed to like a lack of oxygen or something if I came back from like a deep dive, but I'm like, it was such a euphoric feeling, and I was watching myself free dive from up above and like diving through the kelp forest. It just felt like a complete outer body experience. Whoa. And I was with my dive buddy at the time. I'm like, I'm not dead, right? Like, pinching myself. Like, maybe I blacked out. But yeah, it was like this weird outer body flow state experience where I was just like playing a video game of myself spearfishing. Like, never had that happen before other than spearfishing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a really euphoric experience. Haven't been able to replicate that again though.
It's interesting how the mind works. So that's like clearly on your subconscious mind, you know, like it's just in there.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a complete dream state, but it felt amazing. Like, my bottom time, I was like breathing like really relaxed. Bottom time was amazing. Just taking it all in. Yeah.
What is bottom time?
Oh, just like when you hold your breath and are able to.
Oh, yeah. How long can you hold your breath for?
It kind of depends. Like, it's my static breath hold when I'm just like in the pool training. I think it was around like 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that was like built up pretty quick in just a day. It's amazing how quickly your body just adapts. Like, you can take somebody that's holding their breath for 60 seconds first day and get them up past 3 minutes pretty quickly. Dang. Just through different techniques. But when I'm hunting and stuff, it's no more like less than 2 minutes. Yeah, because it depends on like how much energy and oxygen you're exerting. But yeah, 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Wow. And that's enough to get your shot on a fish.
Yeah, typically, where you kind of like assess like where the fish are gathering and stuff, and yeah, it gives you enough time.
So you're always going out with a fisherman, like on the boat?
Yeah, I'll have
with a dive buddy.
Dive buddy that knows a spot, or
okay.
Local fishermen right now. Yeah.
So sometimes it's just the two of you, right? Dive buddy, he's driving the boat.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll have the captain, the fisherman, and then me and my dive buddy.
Oh, okay,
go out
okay,
in the water.
got it.
Yeah, we always like to have somebody in the boat, just in case we need to get picked up real quick if there's sharks in the water or something.
Yeah.
So, hey, come here.
Yeah.
Come pick
So
us
where
up.
are the best spots in Bali then for spearfishing?
I don't like giving away my spots. The ocean. On the ocean. No, I'll take you out. If you do a free diving course, and then we'll take you out.
Okay, cool. It's funny because it's like as you say that, I'm like, no one's I know three. You're one of three people that spearfish I know.
Yeah, there's not too many
Yeah.
people. Yeah, it's funny, and I used to join a few or be a part of a few spearfishing groups in Southern California, and everybody is so secretive about their dive spots. It's like pulling teeth. Like you gotta get in close with a crew, and like even then they're like, we're gonna blindfold you and turn off your phone. Nobody wants to give up their spots. It's so funny. Yeah,
Well, there's more fish out there. There's an abundance of fish.
Yeah. I know. I'll share.
Well, yeah, it's all
happy
good.
to share.
It's all good. Yeah. I think I know some of the spots anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's in Nusa Penida, North Bali, Lavina. Yeah. But anyway, like it's all good. So spearfishing is something that interests me a lot. And for me personally, it's like swimming is my first step to get comfortable. I know like free diving is not really swimming, but just to get, like you said, get comfortable in the water. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest first step. You just want to be comfortable, confident.
And my friend, my swimming coach here, Thomas, he's also a spearfisher. So that's 4 people I know. And he was like, yeah, dude, you need to get comfortable in the water first. Yeah. Then we can go to free diving, then you can go spearfishing. So it's like 3 steps.
Yeah, that's the way to go. And then, your first time out, I would just observe, like go with another spearfisherman and just watch. And see how the fish are interacting with you and their environment. Yeah. It's the best way to do it. Yeah. Just get exposed to it.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Like in your personal life, I'm not sure if you want to share what's happening, what you're developing here in Bali, or.
Yeah, developing some real estate with a friend who's a builder out here. I've always wanted to do it. I've been in Bali a while and just kind of stumbled upon like a great property that we're going to develop. The cattle operation. Bali Forages is kind of taking up a lot of my time. Like it's a big project, and we're still kind of like in startup mode. Yeah. So it's a lot of reactive kind of business practices right now, which like I don't like being in that reactive state because I like planning and being strategic, but it's just kind of part of the process and navigating this market. But yeah, I'm really interested in just like securing my food system, which I really want to get this cattle project up and running, so I can kind of secure that for my friends and myself. Keep training, doing more hikes. Kind of want to keep pushing myself physically out in nature, just to get ready for the elements when I do go bow hunting. So I think that's just going to be a big mental and physical challenge. So just staying physically, mentally healthy.
That's awesome. And foraging for food, for your own food. I love that. I love the name Bali Forages.
Yeah,
it's like man. It's such a cool name. And did you come up with that, by the way? The name?
Yeah. Kind of fitting for what we were doing at the time.
Yeah. And you said the packaging is going to change.
Right.
It was already changed.
Going through a bit of a redesign. Something that's a little bit more shelf friendly for our resellers. It's going to have same kind of look and feel a bit, but the packaging will be a little bit more, especially with the chips. We found that sometimes they get crushed a bit, so the packaging we're getting now is going to be more friendly for the chips.
These are so what's the word, Moorish. Like you eat one and you just want to eat the whole pack, you know.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because there's no crap in there. There's like usually that happens with like Pringles, for example, because there's a bunch of shit in there. Right. But this is like just beef, and I still want to eat more.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have to try some with like some guacamole.
Huh?
With guacamole or avocado.
Oh,
it's really good. Some salsa.
So, what's the shelf life of this for someone watching?
6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 months from production.
For the jerky as well?
Yep. Yeah, same.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you have any last comments, last things you want to share, anything we didn't cover?
Let's see. I think we covered a lot. What are we on? 2 hours? Or hour and a half?
Hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah, I think, what do I want to say? Yeah, any other questions? I'm kind of blanking. We talked for, I'm not a big chatterbox, so.
Anything you want to leave the listeners with? People who are like, maybe this is their first foray into understanding more about animal nutrition and the benefits and, your brand and how you're promoting whole nutrition.
Yeah, I would say a book I would really recommend is The Sacred Cow by Rob Wolf and Diana Rogers. They do a great job explaining regenerative agriculture from an ethics perspective, nutritional perspective, and just an environmental perspective as well. So yeah, grab a copy of that. We do have a book club in Bali right now, so there's a bunch in circulation. I think we have about 10 books in circulation. So if you do have a copy, read it and pass it on. I think we do have maybe 3 or 4 copies left in our office. So if you want to reach out and grab a copy, just hit us up on social media, and we can send one out. So I think it's just a great way to start and kind of educate yourself on regenerative agriculture. I think they also have a film.
Yeah, they do.
Which if you don't prefer reading, but yeah, just familiarize yourself with that way of farming, and it might kind of give you a different idea on how cows can actually help the environment rather than demonizing that the media seems to be doing right now. And then go out and get in nature, get exposed to the elements, get off your chair.
Right. Yeah. It's so cool. Like I actually interviewed Diana before she released her documentary.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and that was cool but she's got a lot. I take my hat off to her because she's trying to push this meat is good narrative, which is obviously true, but it's hard she's getting lots of pushback.
Right.
Because it's so hard to push that, especially in America.
It really is, yeah. I think she's out in New Zealand right now.
All right.
Yeah, she's been making her way, making the rounds, going like deep dives in Brazil and New Zealand, and just trying to get the message out there.
Yeah, it's great work. And so there's a question I leave every guest with. Is there always an interesting answer that's given? So what is the meaning of life in your own words?
Enjoying the process of reaching your goals, even if you don't necessarily reach those goals. I like setting big, lofty goals, but just enjoying that process as well, because I think that's what life is about. It's like you got to enjoy the in-between moments as well as the accomplishments, because sometimes those accomplishments don't necessarily materialize, or there's always going to be another next thing that you have to do or accomplish. So it's just like enjoying those moments in between. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you?
So you can check us out on Bali Forages on Instagram, bali.forages, and then my own personal Instagram is Michael's Water Park. It's just, I don't know, it just came up naturally. The world is my water park.
That's cool. I like that.
That's where you can reach me out on Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah. Michael, thank you very much for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. See you next one.